Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session using technology to really engage students, and not just as technology for the sake of technology, but as actually a tool to learn stuff, which is kind of the point. I'm not going to be here on Thursday, so this is what this video is for Thursday. So thank you all for showing up, even though I'm not there, and hopefully someone is able to pause it for everyone at certain points. But anyway, for this session, we're going to talk about things to get kids engaged uh, in the classroom using technology. Now, hopefully, you have a one-to-one initiative where all the kids have a computer, or you can go to the lab for a day or something like that, so that they each have a computer and they can all use it, obviously. So the first thing we're going to look at, just to get started right away, you're going to go to your normal browser. I'm using Chrome because Chrome is awesome. And in the top, I want you to type in Little Alchemy. Little Alchemy. That's all I want you to type. And hit enter. Now, the first thing that pops up is what I want you to click on. Right there. Click on it. Little Alchemy. And it loads. Now, at this point, this is all I tell the kids to do, is get to this and start. Now, those that have played games before or have done some problem solving, they go right at it and can understand and can figure it out. But you definitely notice those that don't have that experience and have a little trouble and they struggle and they can't quite problem solve. And that's the beauty of games, is that they encourage that and develop that. So let's click play, and then we get this huge screen, big blank screen. And most kids are like, okay, now what do I do? And then they start clicking around and stuff. And that's exactly what they should do. They should try and figure things out. It's a good thing. So over here on the right, there are the four basic elements: air, earth, fire, and water. So we talk about this to introduce elements and stuff. And it's really interesting to tell them the history of that. Obviously, science teacher, this is what I'm going for. But let's go ahead and say that I have air, and I put that out in the middle. Sorry if you can't see that, but that's air. And what happens if I put earth out there, and then maybe if I mix them together? Ah, I get something else. Interesting. Okay, what if I put that with water? Nothing. Oh, that's dumb. All right. Fire? Ooh, I get gunpowder. Okay. Anyway, so you get this hierarchy of different things, or is it a histogram? It's some sort of chart. Um, I can't think of the name. Whatever. But it shows what everything is made of based on these basic elements and the combinations of everything else. So you can go up to 530 different things looking on the bottom left here, and I have 6 of them. That's not very many. So it's kind of a really cool challenge, and we usually start is that I say go, and then every time they think of something or they find something new, I let them shout it out. But if someone's already done it, then they can't shut it out. So they have to try and get to these new things, and it's exciting and it's fun. So this is one thing that really engages them, and it shows them a progression. And at the end, I actually tell them they have to they have to tell me an object that they created. So, for example, really basic example, let's say gunpowder. That's their object. Now they have to draw a diagram telling me from the top, which is gunpowder, what two things made gunpowder, and what two things made those two things, and what two things made those two things. And they make this really detailed chart, and they have to color it, and they have to describe it, and all that good stuff. So it really engages them, and it makes it really exciting. And we could talk about how learning and science and most things are a progression. They build off of these basic building blocks into much more complicated things. So in order to understand those complicated things, you kind of have to know the basics, and that's kind of what we're covering. So it's a really great introduction uh, into any learning that they do. uh, it can be kind of addicting though, and um, yeah, so they may want to play it when they're not supposed to. So you have to address that. Not that it matters, because they'll do it anyway. But there is that. All right, now that I've explained the game to you, what I want you to do is actually try it out. So you're going to go on your computer, which I'm assuming you all have, uh, and type in Little Alchemy, click on that first link, hit play, and actually play it. Last year we did this at the end of my session where we talked about technology and using it in classroom, and people were around for about 45 minutes afterwards, still playing it. So um, I'm only going to allocate about 20 minutes because you can do this on your own time. But take 20 minutes, like look at the clock, wherever it is, and start the clock or whatever, your timer. And for 20 minutes, I want you to play this. And your goal, I'm going to set you a goal, is to have 20 different items at the end of that 20 minutes. So I know one item per minute. You get it. But try and get as many as you can. And if you do get something new, shout it out because other people might already have that, or maybe you are the first one to get it. And it's kind of exciting. You'll see. So check it out. Um, but until then, I want you to pause this video, and when you're done, hit resume or play, and we'll go to the actual next uh, thing that we're going to talk about. So pause. All right, so now that you've tried it out, and hopefully you guys had fun, um, I just want to remind you that this is something that I do when we start to introduce the elements. So we talk about the periodic table and how that got developed and what was before that and all that good stuff. So this is what it leads into that. But there are so many other things that you can do in other subjects or really anything to use this to build off of other things. So it's not just science and it's not just that one topic. You can use this for anything. So just keep that in mind for a lot of these things. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is a game, and it's another game, and it's called I Am Flying to the Moon. And it's the same thing. You just type it in, and I try to find the educational websites. So Learn for Good, I think, is an example. And so I'll just type it in. So I am flying to the moon. Hit enter. And uh, like I said, I try and find the ones that are more educational related. So learnforgood.com looks a little bit more acceptable than addictinggames.com. And now with any of these, I would just have a link in like Schoology or um, uh, whatever else the other one is, Power School? I don't remember. But I would just have a link for the kids to go to. They wouldn't have to find this on their own. So anyway, let's go to that. And I am flying to the moon. Now with this one, in sixth grade science, we do paper rockets, and I have this little air compressor that launches them and stuff like that. Um, but with that, we talk about the engineering design process and how, uh, just like with Little Alchemy, everything is a process, and you have to start with the basics and go up from there. So with this thing, um, you start with a piece of wood with these little wooden fins, and it looks like a campfire fire burner or something like that on the bottom, and that's your rocket. It's really pathetic, but I mean that's the basics, and that's what you start with. And with their rockets, they build it out of paper, so it is really basic. But there's a lot that they can do to that, and with this shows them that there is a progression as well. There's improvements that they can make with fin aerodynamics or just the shape of the body or the materials of the body and all kinds of interesting things like that. And it forms it into a game, and it's um, kind of cool too because they have money to spend and they have to budget it in different ways to make it in as little days as possible. That's the point of this game, anyways, to try and get to the moon as soon as possible. So, kind of like a space race, and that's what you could talk about too. Amazing, all these things you could talk about. I like that on the bottom it also tells you what different things are good for. So if I hover over each of these, it tells me why I would want to get that. Um, so this is another game that is, uh, it's fun, but it's still educational because they're learning stuff. Even if they don't think they are, they are. Um, and to make it not just a game, what I would usually do is, well, I use Schoology, so I would have a quiz or quiz where they would answer questions. I guess it would be more like a worksheet, but it's online. Anyway, they would have to go through and answer questions about it, like what did they choose first to upgrade, and what did that help, and why did they do that, and just questions to get them thinking about what their decisions were instead of just clicking around, which some of them do. But there is strategy, and they can think about that. So with this one, like I said, you're trying to fly to the moon and you use your arrow keys and stuff. So if I actually had a decent rocket, I'd be able to steer it and stuff. And I can kind of steer it. I'm turning left right now, if you couldn't tell. Um, so I get a certain number of dollars for altitude and how long it stays in the air and checkpoints. So now I have $30. I can go back to upgrades and I upgrade things, whatever, and it works. Um, so if you want to, you can try this one out. So you can pause it at this point. If not, we can go on to the next one right away. So pause or not pause. Either way, do something. Okay. Okay, so before we move on to the next one, I am using, I don't know if you've noticed, but I am using the Screencast-O-Matic 2.0. Um, but with that, I can only record for 15 minutes at a time. And this next one is probably going to take me a little bit longer than 2 minutes. So what I'm going to do is actually have you click on something here. There's going to be a box. Let's put it right here. There's a box. Let's say there's a box right here. And you have to click on that, and that'll bring you to the next video that'll talk about the other stuff. So do that. Click on this box over here. This box. Click on it. Click.